Hi everyone, Alexa here from the blog, theduvallhomestead.com. Today I'm going to share with you how to start your garden indoor with indoor seed starting. So I have written a blog post with all the things that we've learned. We are in Zone 8B here in the Pacific Northwest, and I've put together some tips and tricks and just some very beginner information on how to start a garden. Whether you are in an apartment or you have a house with a backyard, or maybe you just inherited or bought land and you're ready to get going, check out the blog post because it has some great information and kind of a step-by-step on how you can do indoor seed starting and some tips for going outside. Now, I'm not an expert gardener by any means, but I think really no one is because every gardener has a different experience based on their location and of course their soil, their weather, etc. And even if you are pro at understanding your area, things still change throughout the year in terms of the weather or the predators or whatever's going on. So your little itty bitty seeds, if you're planning on starting them outside, you're going to want to have some protection. And so if you have a greenhouse set up or some tarping you can put down, we haven't experimented with that. This has worked out better for us because you can start the seed in this tray, let it kind of gain some momentum and some root, get it a couple inches high, and then transport it outside where it will live and be stronger. The other benefit of starting your seeds indoors is you can get them earlier. So seeds work best when their soil is warm and when they see sun and when they have good amounts of water and good drainage. So if you just put your seeds outside, they are kind of subject to the elements, whereas you can keep them inside and control their setting. They're more likely to flourish, and you can start them in February or March depending on your area, and then transport them so that you have summer blooms or summer food. Whereas if I waited until the soil was warm enough to start these seeds outside, I probably wouldn't have the blooms until very late summer, if that, or I may even miss the season altogether. Okay, so if you're ready to start your seed garden, what you're going to do is you need some kind of tray to put it in indoors. Now, we've experimented with just using little pots from the prior year, and what I like about these trays is that they have a lid. So I can actually close the tray, which functions as a humidity, kind of keeps the water in. It also protects the seeds. We have 2 cats, and so if you have cats or kids, they're likely to mess the seeds up, and so we had that happen many times. So the lid is really nice. So this set that I'm looking at right now, there are 5 seed trays with 40 pockets in each tray. So that's 200, if my math is right, pockets, little seed pockets total. And this is actually a really good deal I got on Amazon. I think it was $20 for this whole set. It was one of the best deals I have found. There are some fancier seed tray starters out there, and I have never used them. So you're gonna get your seed tray, and the next thing you're gonna do is you need soil. So what we do is we compost in our backyard. We started composting over a year ago, and we have some really great soil that we've created. That's what I used for this. Now, if you don't compost and you don't already have pre-existing soil, I would go to the store and buy organic soil. I would not just gather the dirt that's already in your yard unless you're sure that it is good soil. And by that I mean it might just be mulch from the store, it might be beauty bark. These types of dirts are not good, they're not nutritious. They also sometimes have artificial colorings in them, and so you don't want them for your seed starters. So just be careful. If you have leftover compost from last year or a garden from last year, that soil is probably your best bet. Or you can just go buy some more from the store. So spread a layer of soil into the seed pockets. You want to fill the pockets up about 3/4 of the way full with soil. Next, you're going to take your finger and just create a little hole in each pocket, and that's where you're going to end up putting your seed. Next, go ahead and place your seed in that pocket that you made with your finger. Now, you're going to want to read the instructions on your seed packet in terms of if you can fit 2 in there or 1. I know it's hard. I always sometimes drop more than I mean to. The thing is if the seed is strong, it will grow. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But usually you want to have just 1 seed in each pocket. Then you want to take your soil and just cover it back up, filling the pocket about all the way up to the top this time, and do that for all of your trays. And the next thing you want to do is water your seeds. Seeds need to be watered quite a bit, so make sure that you are watering it at least twice a day. Now I suggest using a spray bottle and watering it with a spray bottle because it's such a small amount of dirt that if you pour a lot of water into it, it will just drain right out. So a spray bottle is better because it mists the dirt and it will kind of keep the water in the dirt quicker than if you pour it like from a spout. So just keep a spray bottle nearby, and I just kind of, whenever I walk by here, I just kind of mist the dirt at least twice a day. If it looks dry, then I do it more. And you want to keep these in a sunny location. So you can keep them on a windowsill. You can also keep them just near a window that has indirect light. I will sometimes move these outside just so they can get more warmth and more light during the day. However, it dries them out quicker, so I've got to water them more, but then I'll bring them back in where they're safe in here. And so that's it. It's so easy to just plant your seeds in a little seed starter tray. Now, what's next? So you're gonna wanna look at the back of your seed packets for whatever you planted and find out when it's the best time to transport them outside. It'll usually be like, you know, either 1 week before your last frost date or maybe 2 weeks after your last frost date. In general, the idea is usually you want to transplant your seeds once your soil is pretty warm. It's usually after your last frost date. Sometimes I've read it could be before. I find it helpful to have labels on my seed starter trays so that I don't forget which seeds are planted in them. Now, I have made these labels available to anyone who wants to download them for free. They're on my website at theduvallhomestead.com. I will leave a link below. You can just print them out and fill out the related information, and it's much easier that way. Okay, so just a few quick tips for how to start a garden for beginners. If you're brand new, this is your first time doing it, here's some things that we've learned. First of all, you want to find out what zone you're in. The zone is just a USDA term for stating what part of the country you're in based on your amount of rain, amount of sun, the temperature, things like that. And so you can do this by finding out what zone you're in. There's a website you can type in your zip code, and I will leave that link below for you, and you can find out what zone you're in. This is helpful because then you find out, okay, if you're in zone AB, you can look up what plants grow best in the summer in zone AB or in the winter in zone AB, so that you know you're not planting something that's probably going to fail. The worst thing is that you get seeds and you're all excited about planting something outside and then it doesn't work and you just find out that it's because of your area. It'll also tell you kind of your average last frost date, how long your growing season is, when will your soil temperature heat up. Something that can grow well in Florida, for example, because it's hot and humid, may not grow well in Washington State where we have more mild, dry summers. So it's important to know what plants grow better where. Now, when I was in an apartment, I was able to grow some tropical plants like jasmine in my apartment because it was so hot and humid, because it was kind of like a greenhouse. So there are some exceptions for if you would like to build a greenhouse or you have some more growing equipment to create a different climate and more protected growing. My next tip is don't overcrowd your garden. This is a mistake that we make pretty much every year. But you want to plan on about 2 to 5 varieties per average sized garden box. So what I mean by that is if you have a cedar garden bed, maybe you'll fit 2 varieties in there depending on what they are. Maybe you'll be able to fit 5 if they're like flowers, 2 if it's like a growing plant like a tomato or a bean or something. So you don't want to fit 20 different rows of 20 different seeds in one standard size planter box. We have done this and it will create a lot of smaller plants because they don't have enough room. So pick your top few seeds that you want to grow and just stick with it. Another tip is to buy your seeds at the end of winter. So February, March time frame is a great time to buy seeds, or earlier if you just can't wait and you're so excited. This way you'll be able to plant them indoor before your last frost date and you'll be able to see them bloom all summer. Now if you already missed this deadline and you're watching this and it's late summer and you're like, does this mean I can't grow anything? Not necessarily. You should just look for plants that are good in the fall or the winter time. So usually for summer plants, you want to start them in the spring. So you're kind of always one season ahead of whatever's going to do well in that season. If you are brand new to gardening, you may not know, but plants take a long time to grow. Even flowers and especially vegetables can take months to grow. So try to plan ahead. And if you miss a growing season for one of your plants, then you'll just catch it the next year. And you can start it indoors early, which is exciting because you can kind of feel like you're gardening even though it's not summer yet, and then you can watch it flourish all summer. Another tip is to follow the directions on the seed packets. This is super important. I did not really do this much when I first started gardening. I was kind of like, I think I just put the seed in the ground and then it just grows. And sometimes it does. But the packet's really helpful because it tells you when to plant it indoors. It tells you if it can be planted indoors. Not everything should be planted indoors first. Some things are better to go directly outside. A lot of times that's like root vegetables, things that go underground, or beans. Alright, well, don't forget to check out the blog post for more information on how to start seeds indoors for beginner gardening and to get your free seed starter labels. Alright, well, I hope that this was helpful and gave you some inspiration to start your seeds indoors, and you're able to do that successfully. If you're brand new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Every week I post new farm-to-table recipes and homemade natural living from our homestead here in Duvall. Thank you so much for stopping by the Duvall Homestead.